So the same insensitivities that go along with people saying in our America, this is our America, like Alex Jones, and the insensitivities to the truth of this situation, the insensitivities for the average bumper sticker American walking around, REI and Berkeley or something like that, that says, in our America, and lists off every liberal thing that's across the board, or every kind of like mainstream thought process that's meant for you to believe a certain thing. There's a sense of insensitivity there that's equivalent to the lack of even sympathy, but just like the acknowledgement of existing, the reality that there are side effects to this gross interpretation of so-called civilization and reality. There are side effects to this existence that the new agers and the mainstreamers who are still used to this world are not equipped to interpret. So that's why I'm talking about the macro storyline, the macro world in reference to the micro world. You can have you know the umpteenth or the 90th percentile of micro worlds. It's never going to equate to the macro world. The macro interpretation is, see, and this is not like to say that we should have a macro anything, like we should unify and like, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that there has been a system that has been developed on a massive scale, on a macro scale, that has told us that this is the way things are supposed to be. This is the reality. This is what humanity is defined as. This is what gravity and time and life and the soul and all this stuff is defined as. This is what all this stuff is defined as. And anything other than that interpretation of reality is not only poppycock or just ridiculous. It's a threat. It's harmful. It's taboo. You can't even talk about it. So this is what I'm talking about in reference to your entire truth community and uh, that whole mainstream truthertainment consciousness. It's a whitewash, to say the least. It's an example. It's a manifestation of RWS. So this is a side effect of RWS, and now like, since most people generally have good intentions, they don't know what to do. So they think, like, in reference to people in the new age community, they just kind of run away from their problems, and then create a new age version of themselves, and then now the world is fixed, and the world just has to do the same thing, and it's up to the individual, the self, and all that other stuff, and then everything's going to change. That's the whitewashed version of enlightenment and awakening and all that other bullshit. It's just, oh well, this is why, um, like, there's such a focus on the unity and the oneness and all that other stuff. Like, so, like the self and self in the new age community, it's all about like um, getting better for the self. It's all focused on the self, the self. And is there something wrong with that? Obviously not. Our ancestors went into the depths of the self, energetically, spiritually, psychologically, um, physically, and then some. Like, we were the originators of that information, and that's what the New Age community is inherently disrespectful. It's inherently um, separating by saying any of the information that they're doing is new. So the new age, the new world, all that new bullshit, that's that same insensitivity that is happening in the new age community is happening in the political scene. When people can say our America, all our people have freedom of choice, and we take care of each other, and we're free, and all this other stuff. And the Native American, the indigenous peoples of the world are sitting around like, are we ever gonna have this conversation? And what are so-called white people doing with their soapbox of RWS? They're continually doing what their ancestors did. They're owning the conversation and downplaying your perspective. Once again, last time our words didn't matter because we were slaves. Now our words don't matter because, we don't have big YouTube channels, or we don't have it's still a matter of skin tone in many different circles. If you're not talking about the mainstream dialogue, then you're not even worth even paying attention to. So it's not about the attention. That's in their world. It's all about the attention. That's why you have people who are, giving up a lot of their potential to that world. Oh, it's about the numbers. It's about the attention. It's about all that other bullshit. It's not. Like, it's always about the intention. It was never about the attention. People are about attention, and when it's really about your intention, what are your intentions? And you know who's about the attention and who's about the intention. When you're about the intention, the information is very obvious. It's very direct, and there's no question there. So this is what the whole micro world consciousness is dedicated towards keeping people at. It's dedicated towards keeping people at the a consciousness of attention, when and intention is of no matter. It doesn't matter because your intentions are futile. You should be in a hopeless state of being. When you're in the New Age community, it's just about the self. You have no way to address the macro, so you're inherently hopeless to what the world powers have already decided for you. That's how the New Age dumbs you down, by keeping you docile, spiritually docile, by telling you this is why darkness is demonized. This is why the balances of nature are demonized. Black people, so-called black people, are demonized. Different ways of interpreting the reality outside of the biblical um, interpretations are demonized. Like, everything has to be one way. Like, they have to be in charge of everything. That is the system of racism, white supremacy. Like I said, if you're new to this information, research Neely Fuller Jr. Or Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. I've just shared a bunch of information about them recently, and I'm sharing my perspectives and my how I'm observing the system of RWS, how it exists in everyday reality. Like, I was just thinking on the way over here, which triggered this video, the how, like, when you grow up having nothing, you kind of get like desensitized to it, and then it becomes a part of your reality. Like, it becomes like you're okay with it, and that's something that other people will never. And what happens is that's a style of desensitizing you, a style of control. It was something deeper than that. It goes into like relationships and like depths of family relationships and friends and um, parents and their relationship with their children. Like, when you're struggling, a lot of the consciousness of the generations gets affected, and this is another thing that doesn't get acknowledged when people can't even talk about racism, white supremacy. It's the inherent nature that is the total opposite. Like, in the world of racism, white supremacy, an average white male or even a white woman is in America is set up in this space. Just very generally speaking, you're already looked upon a certain way for your entire life. You sound a certain way to certain people. You feel a certain way because of the way marketing for racism, white supremacy has been for your people. So the marketing agencies who owned all the governments and all that other stuff, they marketed very well for their people, and that exists in the consciousness of the individuals. So since they market very well for themselves, they also have to market and advertise very well for in the opposite for the people who are a threat to their system of racism, white supremacy. So this, like I said, when I started this video, it goes back into the bumper sticker of "In my America." Like in that statement is inherently disrespectful. Like it's inherently ignorant and just dead. But you can see how there's a total world that's built around that sort of. There's a proud world built around that says, like this is the way it's supposed to be. This is the way we're supposed to think. This is the way we're supposed to. I'm valid for being who I am and saying, thinking how I am. But and they don't realize that they're inherently being disrespectful and ignorant on purpose. And it's not them who's done this. It's the conditioners. Just like you can't blame a kindergartner or a first grader for being abusive or whatever, because the teacher, you don't know what the kindergarten teacher and what's happening in their family. Like these are children. um, from one space, and in the other space, in one perspective, in the other perspective, people have a responsibility for being accountable for at least their ignorance, at least their fucking ignorance. At least be accountable for that. And this is why I bring this stuff up, is that when you're addressing these topics like that and you're talking to individuals about racism, white supremacy in the macro, this is why people have such a like an abrasive response to it, is because they can't. It's everywhere. Like you're really talking about a universe that you're talking about a universe that completely uproots everything that is near and dear and happy and go lucky and everything for them. It's wonderful for them. So anything positive for you is a threat to their wonderfulness. So look at how delightful they have been portrayed by the newscasters and the Hollywood and all that other stuff. Look how you've been portrayed. Do you think it's going to be easy for them to lose that or let that go? No. So subconsciously, they're going to have a whole bunch of defense mechanisms that wake up and just start attacking. And a lot of the times, they won't even know that they are attacking you a certain way, because they're attacking you in another universe. They're attacking you in your universe, from their universe. But in their universe, they're not attacking you. They're just, defending the infrastructure of their universe. So they're valid. They're the ones who are right in their universe, and you're wrong in their universe. But in the macro universe, the universe of the space of, are we going to talk about this? Are we going to acknowledge this? This is the real truth of the matter. It's not the micro things that are in there, it's the macro as a whole. Are we going to talk about this? Like for the people who are, and this is the thing, it's a rarity for people to even bring these conversations up. So when you automatically, this is how extra fucked up it is. It's fucking rare for anybody, to be talking about the topics like I talk about on this channel. It's fucking very rare. So to be in a community, like around a group of people, and then the group of people are like, well, we're not gonna talk about that. Well, what do you mean we're not gonna talk about it? Because they automatically judge you. You're racist, you're divisive, you're all this other stuff. But then they don't really want to acknowledge, how the information, the part of the information of what you're saying that's right, that actually completely removes their judgments of, you're this and you're that. See, those are the two layers that keep people from even acknowledging the shit that's being, brought to the table. And that's a whole universe. That's that prideful, like the same pride that somebody says, in our America, people have freedom of choice, and da 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 da. And then it's the same thing as like flat Earth. Flat Earthers don't talk about they don't talk about race. This is about unity. And like, who the fuck? What are you talking about? Where's the Constitution for the flat Earthers? What is this? What is this shit we were talking about? And all this. Yeah. See, all that is never established because it was all just weak in the first place. It was just a fucking social media, Facebook thing in the first place. So, um, I just kind of wanted to make that little quick little statement. It really was in reference to, it started with the whole space of psychological poverty, spiritual poverty that exists in generations, that is a part of racism, white supremacy, that is also not being acknowledged. You don't have generations and generations of so-called white people who are having to psychologically, spiritually, and physically undo all of the side effects, like the warfare against our people. Your people don't have to do that. Especially to the extent that we have to do that. That's a whole nother fucking thing that you're not privy to, and that's what we have to deal with. This is not in like a, oh, woe is me victim sort of thing. No, this is an actual work that gets done every fucking day. If you're doing your work, the same work that gets done when you walk out of the house, and you're having to deal with people that look at you a certain way because of how newscasters portray our people. And then you don't have to deal with that. You deal with the opposite. People are kissing your ass and like catering to you. I talked with a friend of mine on the train ride. She was from Singapore, telling me about how white people are treated in Singapore. They're treated like fucking gods. Where the fuck did that come from? Where did that come from? Is that because they're just fucking godly and so delightful? No, it's because they've been programmed for years, and we just see one version of reality, this YouTube truth. It's youtube.us, then you have youtube.china and youtube.germany and youtube.africa and youtube. They are controlling every fucking thing, to the umpteenth degree, every fucking thing. And that's what I'm talking about. That's the macro. See, we're still talking about what's happening on youtube.us. We're not talking about the corporation that is mind control, where YouTube is just one tentacle there. See, that's the macro. See, all the micro shit is like the individual stuff that's happening within the system of racism, white supremacy. This is just a starting ground as far as like observing the macro. That's why I said MAC101. What's after MAC101? Well, once we deal with the 101, we'll see what's there first. But people are still scared of looking at the macro scale 101. Like I said, an example of this is people calling themselves truthers today. Real talk. If you were calling yourself a truther, and today was in 2019, today was whatever day it is, 1952. What kind of truth would you be talking about now? Would you mention racism at all? So this is why I said it goes even further. There has been a war waged against our people around the world. That is a system of RWS. There's been a war waged. Have the people who started that war, did they raise a peace flag? Did they say anything about peace? Have they stopped their war in any kind of way? Absolutely not. It just got more complex. And this is where the people who are going against us even talking about RWS come in, because they're keeping us from really getting to the depths and healing those wounds that are in reference to the entire macro system. We're not even allowed to get to that space, because there are still people who are not internally allowing themselves to even acknowledge that this information is valid. Their only information that's valid to them is the micro universe world. And that's total bullshit. And it's inherently disrespectful. And this is how you can create like the new age community, and then even take it a step even further and create the new world order, the new world mentality. Like the new world anything consciousness is inherently shitting on the old world. So the new age is the same thing. Like, and so if the new, anything new, the same like smart and all that, smartphone, smart water, smart meters, if that's the case, then what do you need to do? You need to get into what is organic to you, what is so-called old, what is ancestral. Like, find out these ways to empower yourself. We're not going to know that until we know who and what we are, what we're dealing with. And we're not going to know that if we're continually ignoring that storyline and just playing into the storylines sold to us by the system who wants to trap us into microsystems in the first place. Because like I said, the people are just a side effect. The people are an example of the system. So this is why when I'm making all these videos, I'm talking to the system that exists in the people. The system that exists inside the people is what we need to start addressing. Once, and that's as far as I'm saying to go. Remove the system. Remove this fucking parasite from the soul, the mind, and the body. And then we will easily see what we can do and what we're like, how this system exists in the regular reality. And then you'll just, tear that shit apart one by one. But you first have to acknowledge that there is an intersecting web that's designed to control on every level, and it goes into the very nature of how you perceive your, not only time and this realm, but yourself, your body, your culture, your ancestors. All that is the same thing. It's all one big clock. See, the system wants you to focus on only the hands of the clock. They just want you to focus on the hour hand and the minute hand and the second hand. But is a clock as simple as the hands on the clock? No. What do those numbers mean? What is it connected to? What is it referencing? And then get into those cogs and all that timing, all the intricacies of the motor of that clock. And then what's powering that clock. So this is just for, another kind of just spreading it all out. What are we really talking about here? Once you figure out what the clock is, then you start figuring out what time it is. Oh,